Hey, it's Josh Jacobs, and you're listening to Fantasy Football Counselor.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the Fantasy Football Counselor. Huge episode today. Got Tom Santinello back, a Pro Football Insider. We're talking the top 10 fantasy football rookies, guys that could make an immediate impact for Fantasy Football 2020. Big show. What's going on, Tom?
What's going on?
I'm excited to dive into this, man, and we're going to work our way from 10 down to 1. And what I'm going to do is give you guys the fantasy perspective, where they land, what I think their production will be. And Tom's going to keep me in check and say, hey, Joe, that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. That guy's actually not that good. That guy's that good. That makes sense. He'll kind of keep me in line, basically. Right, Tom?
I'll give it a shot.
It's fantasy versus reality right here. So I like that. I like the accountability. I'm stating a player, right? I'm telling you I think he could be good for fantasy, but Tom's going to say, hey, you know what, Joe? That does make sense. He did really good in college. These are the coaches. This is the offensive scheme, and we're going to run through that. Now, I want to work, Tom. I want to work from 10 to 1. I've got 6 wide receivers. We know wide receivers don't make a significant impact, but I got to address them. So I got to talk about the talent. I got to talk about
especially this year.
Yeah, this year as well. I got to talk about these guys who are in position to succeed, because there's a ton of rookies this year. I'm leaving a bunch out because I don't feel that they're going to necessarily succeed in fantasy. I'm leaving a bunch of running backs out that could easily crack this top 10. I'm leaving out guys like Eno Benjamin, who's behind Drake. He could easily be in here. Zach Moss, who's with Devin Singletary. A.J. Dillon with Aaron Jones. I'm leaving all those guys out. Trust me. Believe me, these guys could be fantasy studs. So I want to say that as a disclaimer. I'm just going with the guys that could make an immediate impact. Now, these wide receivers may not be a big impact, but they're going to be an impact. Now, when I have 6 wide receivers, we're going to go to them, and then I have 4 running backs near the end here that could be absolute studs in fantasy. We're going to lead up to them, up to the top guy who is in the best position to succeed. So stay till the end, guys, and we'll get to it. Now, before I get into that, guys, 16-round draft, so should make sure you guys get it below. The first ever and only video training, guys. This will help you guys crush your leagues, or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com if you are listening in the car. All right, let's move into it, Tom. Let's start off with number 10 here, and it could be immediate impact because he's a young guy. The guy I'm talking about is T. Higgins. He's in a position to succeed with Burrow there getting the start, A.J. Green being banged up throughout the years. Boyd, I'm not really crazy on. What do you think of T. Higgins? I think there could be an immediate impact, not a high ceiling, but an immediate impact, some touchdowns there. What are your thoughts on T. Higgins as talent, though, Tom?
I think the future is brighter than the present. I think they got A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd. I think eventually they're going to ease T. Higgins in. Depends how well he picks up the offense. But, him and Burrows are the future. A.J. Green, I think he's on a franchise tag there for another year, probably go year by year over there. Tyler Boyd, I'm not too sold on, but I think T. Higgins is going to show up in some games, but he's probably about a year away from really seeing some fantasy impact I was looking at the fantasy side of it.
Now, I watched a lot of tape on these guys. I don't believe what the scouts do, so I watch my own tapes. I look at breakdowns. He does look like he's got pretty good running. He runs in, he runs out, he fools defenders, leaves a lot of separation, a very physical guy, and I think he's going to be used a lot in the red zone. I like the upside here, and I think they found themselves A.J. Green's replacement. Would you say that that's safe to say? Like you said, future of the Cincinnati Bengals. I like him. Do you see a high ceiling?
A.J. Green was a lot better coming out of college. I think he was a top 5, top 10 pick. He's a lot better coming out of college, a lot more polished and a lot better of a prospect. T. Higgins probably would have went in the first round any other year. I think he's in the same ballpark as the Jalen Rigers, the Jeffersons, the Denzel Mims. He's right in that second tier in this draft. And any other year, like I said, he probably, if there was no Judy, none of those other guys ahead of him, he probably would have went to the Raiders or the Niners or one of those other teams. He's a very good player. But he did really good at Clemson.
Right.
He had a tremendous career over there in a great offense with probably the top quarterback or top 3 quarterback in college, Trevor Lawrence. So I just think see how his game translates, but he can easily be the rest. There's about 5 or 6 guys, or maybe more, that can be the best receiver in this class. There's a lot of them with that. He has the pure talent to overtake the rest of them. Right. But he might be a year away or so because he's still behind. He's not going to be the number 1 target there.
No, but I love him in the future. So keep that on your radar. Okay. Now let's move on here. Guy, by the way, leave your questions below. Tom and I will get to them. Tom, you got to jump in my comments here on YouTube and start answering some questions.
Yeah.
People want your insights. So yeah, leave a comment below. Tom or I will get to them. Coming in at number 9 here. Now, this guy for fantasy football, his ADP is ridiculously low. You can get him for a steal. He may go undrafted unless, if you're not listening to the Fantasy Football Counselor podcast, you may not even know this guy exists. But Chase Claypool, 6'4", 229, a ton of talent. Tom, the reason I love him so much, I'll tell you why. Now, first of all, in 2019, 66 receptions, over 1,000 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns. Again, big-bodied receiver. Here's why I love him. Now, the coaching staff with the Steelers have already said they absolutely love him. But I think that the wide receiver 2 job, never mind the wide receiver 2 job, the wide receiver 1 job is there for the taking. I think you and I were talking off the air. Juju's more of kind of like more of a slot kind of guy. You want to put Claypool could be a guy to get a lot of targets. And before you get into your analysis on Claypool here, Ty, I just want to tell you, back in 2018, Big Ben was the guy number 1 in passing attempts. He made both Antonio Brown and Juju top 10 receivers. I know Antonio Brown's special talent. It's a different conversation, but 168 targets to Antonio Brown, 166 to Juju. There's a ton of upside here for Claypool. I love the upside. And again, that wide receiver 1 job, I think, is up for grabs if Claypool's there. So my question to you from a talent-wise, do you think he's got that ceiling to take the wide receiver 1 spot here?
I think the first thing you got to look at, Juju had success when he was a rookie. The Steelers coaching staff and Ben aren't shy to go to a rookie. Some teams are. So if he's going to be in line, I think he's more talented than Johnson. James Washington's more of, I guess, I don't want to say they're big play guy, but I don't think he's that true number 1 or 2 on the outside receiver. So I think he has every opportunity to be a prime target over there. He's going to get some. Big Ben loves to throw the fade in the red zone. He loves to throw a deep ball. This guy's got speed. I think he fits that team perfect.
I love him. There is some questions, but again, I don't believe what the mainstream sheep say. There was some questions about his route running, suspect thing. But I've watched the tape, man. Great hands. He comes down with the ball.
Steelers draft receivers really well. Don't forget that.
They do.
They don't miss a lot. So that's another thing. I'd rather go with that.
That's a good point.
Than what people who don't know what they're talking about that watch a little film.
I agree with that, Tom. All right, let's move on here. Another guy like immediate impact possibility here. I got Michael Pittman here. And again, we're working down the list. So now coming at number 7 here, or what is this? 10, 9, coming at number 8, Michael Pittman, 6'4", 223. I mean, what I like about him here is Rivers is throwing the ball. Now I'm looking at Rivers' numbers here. He threw a lot. He threw 591 times last year. So Allen, Williams, all these guys beneficiaries. Now we got Hilton, who's been kind of banged up through the years. I think he only played 10 games last year. Hilton did. Paris Campbell hasn't really done much. And I think this is probably accredited to Jacoby just not being that great of a quarterback. We've got Rivers coming in. So I think the ceiling is high here. What do you think from Pittman as a talent? Do you like this guy?
Yeah, another guy who would have been in the first round any other year. He doesn't have that explosiveness or that excitement that a Jeudy or a Ruggs would have, or a CD Lamb. So, but I think he's more polished than those guys right now, maybe besides Jeudy. And I think he's just not as exciting like to watch, but that doesn't mean he's not as good. I think he has the chance to be just a very good, they used to have Marvin Harrison years ago, just guys that get the job done. He has a guy that can be 100 reception guy a year, and just that's what he is. Big target, catch the touchdown, catch the ball. He's just a very good wide receiver that's going to produce. And I think the key for him, maybe on a fantasy side, which is not my expertise, he'll have consistent weeks. Not a guy that's going to have 4 catches for 150 yards then not show up the next week. He's a guy that should get the ball every week and get similar stats, consistency every week. And he fits perfect. And T.Y. Hilton on the other side is going to help him, because it's going to, he's not going to get double coverage as a rookie. He's going to get his shots.
Right.
And I think he'll do well.
I like him. I think he's strong, physical player as well. I like his stiff arm. Michael Pittman, good opportunity with Rivers there. Could emerge. Again, Hilton a little bit old. I don't want to say Hilton's washed up. I still like Hilton this year. I just think that I like the young talent coming in. There's some upside here. And Campbell, like I said, Campbell didn't really do anything for me. He could be a threat, but not. I think Pittman's better talent, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving into number 7 here. All right, JerryJeudy. This guy would be a lot higher for me, but I got to make a point here with JerryJeudy. He is going in there now with Courtland Sutton, who is slated as the 1. Tom, when I look at the talent here, I like to look at talent that could emerge as the 1. I don't know if Jeudy could do it. Now, the upside here with Jeudy is that Drew Lock he has rapport with Sutton, but he doesn't have years of rapport with Sutton. So we don't know what we're going to expect. So I kind of like the ceiling here, but they also got, which I call the Hamburglar. I call it the Hamburglar. Just, I don't know, it's cheesy, but they got Hamler now there as well at wide receiver. It just reminds me of the Hamburglar. So Jeudy, Hamler, Sutton, and Fant. There's a lot of mouths to feed. Then they got Melvin Gordon out of the backfield. What do you think of Jeudy? Immediate impact, or do you think he's going to get the volume?
Yeah, I think he's going to get immediate impact, but I think he's going to take some of the volume away from Sutton. Sutton's still the number 1 until, it may take a year or so for Jeudy to overtake that, learn the system, learn the NFL, the speed of the game. But I think he's going to come in and produce and have some good games. Now, Sutton will probably be the 1 all year long, but there's going to be some, contesting for some he might not get 10 passes a game, 15 targets a game, Sutton. Judy's going to come in there and have some big games.
Right. So it's volatile. How about Hamler? What do you think of him?
I don't think he's going to. Listen, he'll have a couple big plays. He's more of a big play guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to use him as a returner or anything like that. He's a small guy. Like I said, think Deshaun Jackson when he was younger, but not like that. He's not going to be that guy, like I said, with Pittman that's going to catch 10 balls a game. He's not even going to have the opportunity. Kind of like when, I don't know if you remember John Brown when he was a rookie with the Cardinals. Guy he just goes and gets those big plays. They're going to try to use him for speed. Like when Tyreek Hill was a rookie, he was returning kicks. He was getting some big plays. If he develops into something, it's going to take 2-3 years. I don't know if he can. He did drop a lot of passes in college. So he's going to be that guy that's more big play type of guy. I would stay away from him if for fantasy. He could be a very good weapon to a team.
Right. Yeah, Jeudy, I like him, but again, the situation there with a ton of targets, I'm going to probably stay away, but we're talking impact. And I said, with these wide receivers, it's totally questionable. I just tried to pick receivers that could get the most impact right away. Now, again, Jalen Reagor could get that. There's a couple other guys. Who else is there here? CeeDee Lamb. See, I got Jefferson coming up here, but these are guys that I didn't add here. CeeDee Lamb I didn't add because, again, with Cooper, unless Cooper goes down, Lamb has that immediate impact. But as of right now, too many targets to go around there. All right. So now we've got the next guy here. We've got Denzel Mims. I love the talent, 6'3", 215. Notes I have on this guy, it's super physical, man. He had 12 touchdowns last year in his college year, over 1,000 yards. Great route runner, long hands. This guy has a ton of upside. The only problem is he's on the Jets. Now, I guess the good news is that Robbie Anderson is gone here. So I think he's going to get the targets. Crowder had 122 targets. I want to make a note of this. 6 touchdowns. Anderson only 96 targets last year. So this guy could easily take Crowder's RB or wide receiver 1 spot. Denzel Mims, and they improved the O-line, right? I believe they did. The Jets. Could Darnold make something, and could Mims make something out of Darnold here? He's a plug and play. If you ask me, they need a receiver. So that's why I like him so much as a fantasy upside. What are your thoughts on Denzel Mims with the Jets?
I like him. He's not as good as some of those guys ahead of him, but he has a chance to block. He has a chance to be a good 1 receiver in the NFL, which are hard to find. And on that team, like I said, he may have more upside than a Jeudy because he doesn't have that competition. They signed Brashard Perryman, I believe that's really who they got. And they got, a couple other guys besides him. But, like you said, last year it was kind of hard because they were down to their 3rd string quarterback. It was a horrible situation, but the Jets still finished 7-9. They still won some ball games. I think he's going to get the chance. I don't think he's going to step in and be a superstar right away, but I think he's probably stepping in, as their best receiver, I would say right away, but it's going to matter how the team plays. Le'Veon, they got a new offensive line. Le'Veon Bell is going to play better this year. And I think it's going to create more opportunities because they're going to keep the defenses off balance. And remember, they were 7-9 last year. They weren't horrible. They won some games. So I think he's probably one of the better rookies just because of the opportunity he's going to have. It's all about opportunity sometimes.
Yeah, it is opportunity. That's why I like Claypool and Pittman. I think the ceiling's high. And when I look at these guys, I look at volume count, opportunity. Is there another person in the committee there in regards to wide receivers? And I think, again, Claypool with Ben throwing the ball and Pittman with Rivers throwing the ball, I think there's a ton of opportunity.
If you're a number one wide receiver, even when Antonio Brown was, he was getting 19 targets a game sometimes.
Crazy, yeah.
But if you're that guy, 19 targets a game, whoever it is, you're going to catch some of those balls and you're just going to get points.
Yeah, Mims. Again, Mims, I'm not excited because of Donald, but I'm excited about opportunity. Jeudy, I'm not excited about opportunity. I'm excited about talent. So, again, everybody's here for a reason, right? Again, Jeudy, like I said, with Sutton there and all these targets, it doesn't appeal to me. But, again, just on sheer talent, that's why I have –
He's got speed. He's better than Robbie Anderson, I think. He's more polished, but he averaged 17.8 yards per catch in college. I just think it's a good opportunity for him to shine.
You're talking Mims, right?
Yeah, Mims.
Yeah, okay. All right, moving on here to number 5, and then we're going to get to the running backs, which I'm super excited to dive into here. This guy, I think, out of all the wide receivers, is simply plug and play. Now, he is going in with Cousins there, technically kind of replacing Diggs. The thing about him, he made some difficult catches, but he had Burrow throwing the ball. And I was watching the tape, and everything was thrown like right where it needed to be. Now, obviously, Jefferson had to make some adjustments to catch some of the balls, but a lot of it was right there. So my question to you, Tom, based on talent, obviously Burrow being as good as he is, was it more Burrow or was it Jefferson or was it a combination of both that made Jefferson good?
I think it was more Burrow and the whole team. I think he also has Adam Thielen next to him, who's coming off a very disappointing year. But I think he only had 875 yards last year. But their whole team was good. So I don't think he's going to be that guy that steps in and has 1,300 yards. But I think he's a guy that can have an 900 yard season. Put some, maybe like Calvin Ridley did his first couple of years, something like that. He come in and produce. But Thielen's still the number one there. But they're going to get some shots for him on the outside.
Safe to say, from everybody I mentioned, is this guy the most plug and play in regards to volume, or which wide receiver?
No, they got Adam Thielen there, who's their number one. You can't put him in plug and play when you got another number one there who's
if he comes
polished.
In as 2, but if he comes in as 2, plug and play as a 2 with some upside for fantasy. Out of all the guys I mentioned, this guy's
too early to tell for me because I wait till training camp and I analyze during the preseason. That's what I do. But I think they need him. I think they don't have Diggs, so he's definitely going to come in. And is he going to replace Diggs this year or next year is the question. So he's definitely going to plug and play, like you said. I thought you meant like as a number one. Thielen's still going to be the go-to guy there. But he's basically replacing Stephon Diggs. That's what he's doing.
Right. And Diggs had 150 targets in 2018. That's why it's appealing to me with Jefferson. But I've learned with wide receivers, never put your faith in wide receivers. Always try to get wide receivers with that have got that consistent numbers, right?
Yeah.
The production.
We'll talk more about rookies. The way you judge rookies is you got to see how they adapt during training camp and preseason, and you got to talk to people at that point, and then I can give more insight. But as of right now, he's the plug and play type of guy. It's just you just got to see how he picks up the NFL game. There's guys that never pick it up. And there's guys undrafted that pick it up and will be stars that we're not even talking about.
Ironically, we're talking Vikings here, so I got to make a point. A couple of years ago, you'll remember this name. He came in as a top wide receiver prospect. I'll say his name in a second. He played for the Vikings, and he did absolutely nothing. I don't know. Treadwell, Laquan Treadwell. Absolutely nothing, man. Nothing. Done nothing. And he was like a top prospect. So you never know, man. You never know.
He he was supposed to be a stud coming out of college. He was a stud coming out of high school, played really good in college, but they had a tremendous team out there. And he just never, that's the perfect point though. That's what I'm saying. But a lot of these coaches know right away in their first practice, their first week or two of practice, shit, we shouldn't have drafted this guy. He doesn't have it. When they start, the NFL is a different speed than college. It's a different game. You're facing talented cornerbacks. Now, a guy coming out of the SEC, why do you think 15 guys from the SEC went in the first round? Because they're more battle tested than guys coming from other conferences. So that they're already a step ahead.
Right.
And it's about facing that elite talent. If you got a defensive tackle that's faced like Derek Brown, went top 10 going against big time offensive tackles in the SEC, he can probably play in the NFL over a guy that's from the ACC.
Definitely. You want him as
Cleveland Ferrell last year struggled from, the Raiders from Clemson.
You want him as groomed as possible going into the NFL to give.
You want to eliminate your, room for error when you're making a draft pick.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on to the running backs. What everybody loves to hear. Coming in at number 4. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this guy. I've been doing some mock drafts. He's coming off in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. It depends on the where people are going to want to draft, depending on what we hear with preseason, off-season training. The guy I'm talking about is DeAndre Swift. Listen, I love the opportunity. I'll tell you why, and then you could dive in, Tom, in regards to feedback. I mean, good burst, phenomenal burst, great vision. I think based on the reports I've seen and basically on the tape, he looks explosive and he looks like the most complete back out of the NFL draft. 5'9", 215. When he lands in Detroit.
5'8", Joe, 5'8".
I got him at 5'9". Whatever.
I measured at 5'8" at the combine.
Whatever. I got him at 5'9".
That's not bad.
Give or take. Close enough. So again, he's going in there with Kerryon Johnson. Now here's like the fantasy perspective. Kerryon Johnson, I think he's only played 18 games in 2 seasons. I think it was 8 games last season, 10 the year before, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. 18 games in 2 seasons. And a couple of years ago, I think it was 2018, LeGarrette Blount was there. Blount actually had 154 attempts. He was out attempting Kerryon Johnson. I think it was Kerryon Johnson's rookie year. I get it. And again, he got banged up. But Kerryon's just not a guy they trust, hence why they went 2nd round, I believe, with Swift. I love the upside. I love the talent, and I like the opportunity for fantasy. But again, I think Kerryon's going to be a bit of a thorn off the beginning, but I think Swift runs away with the job. Then you got to look, how often are they going to run the ball? Is it going to be enough? Again, based on the past couple of years, because Kerryon's been hurt, there hasn't been a running back that's been doing it. A couple of years before, they had Amir Abdullah. He did absolutely nothing as well. So it's been a bad luck of running backs. I think they may have got their guy. What do you think here? 3-down workhorse, and do they have their guy here, Tom? I'm not sure. This one's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's better than Kerryon, and he's going to win the job. Kerryon, like you said, he may start the first couple games, but he's a better player. From the SEC. He's a very, very good player. He can catch the ball. And with that offense, Matt Patricia, and Bevel, they don't want to run and gun, sling the ball around. They didn't draft a receiver early. They went running back, and I think they want to control the pace. They're in their division in the NFC North. They want to compete. I think they understand they need to run the ball. They haven't had they don't have many 100-yard rushing games, 1,000-yard rushers in Detroit in years and years. They just don't have it. So I think they want to control the line of scrimmage, and I think it's a perfect fit for them. And I think he's going to play, and he's going to play well.
I like him. And again, he's shifty, super shifty, and he's faster than the next guy we want to get to. And the guy I'm talking about is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's coming in at number 3 for me. Listen, I love the upside, 5'8", 209. The guy's a bowling ball, low center of gravity. He runs in the middle, runs on the outside, pass-catching running back. I like Swift a little bit better, although if Clyde Edwards gets the start in KC, he will tear it up. Question is, and I think he could definitely crush Damian Williams. I think they're craving and thirsting for that pass catching back. I absolutely love this opportunity if he gets the volume. There is a bit of a committee there. Again, Damian Williams sucks. I'm just not a fan of him. I don't think he should be anywhere. I think it should cut him, to be honest. But again, I think he still might be a little bit of a thorn unless, they pull up their big boy pants and say, listen, this guy's far superior, which he is, than Damian Williams. We're going to start him. I would have liked Swift, to be honest. I would have liked Swift in KC, to be honest. But what do you think of Clyde Edwards here in KC?
I think he's good. I don't know if it was Andy Reid who said it. I told you before when we had the other show that he was looking for somebody. You're not going to find LaShawn McCoy was electric, the way he cut and the way he ran the ball. He's not as good of a runner, but he compared him more to Brian Westbrook when he had him in Philly. And that's kind of what we said before that he was looking for. And I told you that. He needs to take the pressure off Mahomes. He wants Mahomes not to run the ball, have a long career. It's so important for a quarterback to throw the ball in the backfield. I think this is the guy. He wants him to be better than Damian Williams. Will he? We'll find that out. And I think he's going to fit that offense to a T. And listen, he may have some games where he has 9 or 10 rushes, but he has 7 receptions. And I think he's going to be able to get the ball and put up some stats.
Comparing him, I've heard a lot of comparisons. Maurice Jones-Drew, do you think that's...
No, not at all.
No?
Maurice Jones-Drew is a bigger guy. He was he's just a different player. I don't know who told you that, but no, not at all. This guy's he's different. He's definitely different. I mean, this guy's 5'7", 207. There's Maurice Jones-Drew, like 225. He was like 250 in the offseason. Yeah, he's a different kind of running back. This guy's he's shiftier. He's not a super fast guy, but I think this guy's more, it's just different. He's just a good running back. I mean, I don't want to say they compare him to Westbrook, which is a total different player than what's his face? The guy you just said. I'm
not comparing him to Maurice Jones. This is just buzz I'm hearing and stuff like that.
It's bad buzz. Bad buzz.
That's why we're here to filter that buzz out. No, I don't think he's like Maurice Jones, but I'm just saying I'm hearing comparisons and buzz.
Listen, he's not a speedster. He's not a typical third down back that's just going to go out there and catch the ball. He's a move the chains running back that can do it out of the backfield. I mean, Curtis Martin was one of the best that ever did it like that. He was like that. Now, I'm not saying he's like Curtis Martin, but I think he's a little more of a receiver than a runner in that situation. But I wouldn't be surprised if and they're not going to give him the ball 25 times a game. He fits he's a West Coast running back. He fits the offense to a T. That's what he is.
So my question:
if they're up 35-10 in the fourth quarter, guess who's getting the ball? Him. And maybe Damian Williams does come in for a couple plays.
I don't like Damian Williams. He's going to be a pest. Again, I like him talent-wise, but he's got to be a full workhorse. He's got to get the ball every time. That's what and the thing is, right now, I've been doing some mock drafts, Tom. He is coming off in the second round. I actually see him coming off anywhere near the end of first to the early third. Like, people want this guy as their workhorse running back. I'm not completely 100% sold. I'm more comfortable with a girly round 2 right now. Mind you, don't get me wrong. I want to make a point here. Love the ceiling, right? There's a massive ceiling here, ton of upside. This guy could be a top 5 finisher in fantasy production, but way too early to tell right now, man. Just, ease up, pump the brakes on this one. I'm not buying the hype completely. No. Again, it's a committee.
Don't forget, this year there's no off-season rookie mini camps, off-season training. So these rookies are going to be behind. So if you had to flip a coin, if it's like a toss-up, you go with the vet over the rookie, just because they're getting their playbooks now as soon as they sign the contract and everything, but they're not going to be able to work out with the team. Don't forget that they're not, because of the the COVID-19 and all that other jazz. Yeah. They are not with their teams right now and for the next month. So they may not be with them till training camp, and that may be a huge factor with some of these guys.
Definitely.
They're not going to be able to build that chemistry and throw with a ball with the quarterbacks,
No, there won't be.
So don't forget about that. I'm sure none of your other friends out there are talking about that.
I don't have too many friends in the fantasy football industry, but more scouting and other friends. All right, let's move on to number 2. And I absolutely love this guy. Now, there's this debate where people are like, okay, well, if you've been a workhorse in college or had a lot of volume, you're worn down. And if you haven't had enough volume, then you're just not a workhorse. So there's like this fine line. So people are saying, oh, this guy's worn out. He's not worn out. Jonathan Taylor's coming in. He's on the Colts. Marlon Mack absolutely sucks. Let's be honest. I'm not sold on Marlon Mack at all, okay? Jonathan Taylor, 5'11", 219, coming in strong, had a great 2019, 320 attempts, 2,000 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, 21 touchdowns. Not known for a pass-catching running back, but still caught 26 balls last year. Power, vision, speed. The only knock to him, again, is this catching. He doesn't catch the ball, and some ball security issues. But, hey, nobody's perfect. Jonathan Taylor, decent O-line in Indy. I love this. What are your thoughts here with Taylor for 2019?
Well, I mean, he's gotten some work in college, obviously, but he's a guy, I don't think they're counting on Mac. Mac's a guy who may not even be on the roster week 1.
Right.
So I wouldn't put all that eggs in one basket. I think he steps into a good situation in Indianapolis. They got the best guard in the NFL in Quentin Nelson. They have Anthony Costanzo. They re-signed their left tackle. They have a very good offensive line. They have a very good foundation out there, very good coaching staff. Frank Reich, he's the coach. He was in Philly when they had JerryJeudy. And he actually did well during that Super Bowl run. So he's not going to be shy to run the ball. And I think he wants a guy who fits his system. They didn't draft Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack had a better rookie season, and then he kind of spun off and just doesn't have the talent to be in a pretty much starting NFL running back. This guy's going to come in and get the opportunity to play and will be the guy. He's going to get the opportunity. So he's the guy that can come in and play. As far as being run down, I mean, it's not going to bother him this year.
Yeah.
So I just think he can come in and play. Like I said, the only other thing that we talk about is the transition. There's guys from Wisconsin that never made the transition. Ron Dane, guy that you hear of. Melvin Gordon never really amounted. He was a lot better in college too. These Wisconsin running backs usually don't amount to what they are in the NFL from college. So, but I think this guy's better than those other. I mean, Ron Dane was nasty. And then there was that other guy who was that other guy back in 2012 they had that was a stud. Fred something, I think. He was a beast in college, but he never made it at all.
Right.
He blew up. But so the Wisconsin running backs, that's another thing to look at. They never reached their potential in the NFL. Maybe this guy could change. Like Swift, Georgia's had some really good running backs.
They have.
And they usually translate. So Big Ten running backs, it's a little tougher. But I think this guy's better than some of the other ones, and he has more talents that translate to the NFL. He's got 4.39 speed. The other guys did not have the speed. Right. So I agree with you. I think he's plug and play. I think he's going to take that job. He's behind a good offensive line. The stars are aligning for him to be the one.
After this discussion, I should have put him at number 1. But hey, you know what? That's okay. Consider him 1 or 2. We're pretty close. We got him ahead of Clyde Edwards, and that's all we want to know. The mainstream's all over Clyde Edwards. And what I don't like about the mainstream fantasy analyst, Tom, you don't play a lot of fantasy, but I got to tell you, man, they just ride the D when it's hot, or they get on the train when it's running. And they
have no experience in the game. They're just looking at computers, and
they're just getting.
I don't care. But most people in the media,
it's mainstream BS, right? So again, like last year, everyone's Damian Williams round 2. That's what
like the mock drafts. They cut and paste, and they think they know what they're talking about, but they never played a down of football in their life besides Pop Warner.
Exactly. And again, the copy and paste rankings. And again, Odell, 3 years in a row, guys. You got to draft Odell first round. That's what they told you. I got to stay away from Odell. Stay away from Damian Williams round 2. Okay. And people have listening problems, but again, this is what the mainstream is giving out, and that's why I'm here to change the game this year and moving forward. And number 1 here, and again, I almost feel like Taylor could be there, but Mac is just annoying me. As soon as Mac gets traded, it goes away. I love it. But the guy got number 1. He could steal a job here, and we got to talk about this. The guy I'm talking about is Cam Akers. Now, they got rid of Gurley with confidence here, no hesitation. I'm sure they had this guy on their radar, 5'11", 212. Now, with Cam Akers, he can catch the ball. 30 receptions the last year in college, 225 yards. He had 14 touchdowns on the ground, over 1,000 yards rushing, 231 attempts. So workhorse capability here. He's got the home run speed, ran a 4.47, strong, fluid runner, I think, pass catcher. Now, he did run behind a bad O-line in Florida State, and he still did okay. So what are your thoughts there in regards to Florida's O-line? And how it's going
to the Rams? I like him. I'm not sure if he was the number 1 running back on their board. He went with the 20th pick in the 2nd round. I mean, I don't think they would have taken Clyde Edwards. I don't know if they would have taken Taylor. I mean, they didn't want J.K. Dobbins. Instead, that you got to compare him to J.K. Dobbins for them. J.K. Dobbins is a runner. He's a runner. He's not going to catch the ball as much out the backfield. He fits Baltimore's offense really well. But Cam Akers, if you look, they like a guy that can do everything. They like a guy who can catch the ball a little bit. They like a guy with a little bit with some speed. I just didn't think they were depending on Gurley. They thought they could depend on him. I think they wanted to get out of that contract because they needed some room. They did not have a first-round pick, so he was the first pick they had in the draft. They don't take a running back first in the draft without the intent to use him. So plug and play, he's going to be their guy going into camp. Whether he produces or not, that's on him. They got a decent O-line. The Rams have been built to win for the past three years since they were that Super Bowl run. They're not messing around. They're not the type of team. They traded their first round pick for Jalen Ramsey. They just traded up Brandon Cooks. They don't have the best wide receivers anymore there, so they're going to lean a little bit more on the run. And I think they understand that, especially in that division, you can't just run, gun it. Jared Goff digressed a little bit, and I think Cam Akers is going to be maybe the focal point of that offense moving forward.
Yeah, I love him. You don't think Darrell Henderson is a threat, do you?
I mean, I don't think he's that good.
No, he didn't do anything last year. He had like 39 attempts. I thought if they had kept Henderson, they're going to run him, and they believe in him, but as soon as
they got rid of their best wide receiver. They made a lot of bad decisions in that organization. They extended the quarterback, the running back, the receiver. None of that has really worked out. Goff has a chance to come in for some redemption, but he's going to need help in the backfield. And I think they're going to give the chance to Cam Akers, who, like you said, had a bad O-line in college. It was a bad team at Florida State. They were behind a lot of games, and he was one of the lone bright spots there. He doesn't have a ton of work on him, and I think he's a really good player.
Right. I got to go off. I love Cam Akers, but I got to go off a note here. You did mention Dobbins. I'll tell you why he didn't make the top 10.
Yeah.
Trust me, I love the talent. But the problem is, I'll tell you what the problem is. There's just not enough attempts to go around there in Baltimore.
No.
Now, Lamar had 176 rushing attempts. Let's say he goes down and says, hey, I don't want to run this much this year. Let's go to 130 attempts from 176. They have Ingram, who's still there, who had a ton of volume, 200 plus attempts there, and they had Gus Edwards there. Now, I don't think Edwards is going to be a threat. Ingram, with him still there, there's no way there's going to be. And even if Ingram is gone, Ingram had 200 plus attempts. I want 250 plus attempts for my running backs. That's it.
Rewind a little bit to 2018. They had a couple running backs that would have good games and they disappear, right?
Right.
Edwards and I forgot the other guy's name.
I'll tell you that in a second. But everyone's saying, man, let's get on the Gus bus. Everyone,
they need to run the ball in Baltimore. And what I think they're trying to do is set up for Dobbins to be the future. Ingram will probably be gone after one more year, maybe. I don't know if he can make it 2 years there. Ingram had a great year, but I think they're number one that he got hurt. Too much load on an older player, especially a running back. And I'm not singling out him. I'm just going with pure statistics. Right. Ingram has gotten better as his career went on, but he's also he missed some time early in his career with injuries. He never really had the abuse of. He was a first-round pick, but he didn't have that abuse. Then they brought in Alvin Kamara, but he never really got those full loads in New Orleans that number one running backs get. So he hasn't had the punishment that everybody else has had. He's on his third contract, I believe. And he's just keeps playing well, but the sooner or later, I mean, he got hurt with his calf last year. So I think they took him for insurance and easing him in the lineup. And who knows, maybe he takes over this year if Ingram gets hurt. And I think that's how he would take over this year. But the following year, he's going to be the man going into it the next year.
Justice Hill was the guy you're thinking about.
Yeah, somebody else too. They had a few running backs that they were all over.
Gus Bus, Justice Hill. There's just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, they had a bunch of guys that would get the ball sometimes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Alex Collins.
Yeah. They've had a bunch of guys with big games. And I think now,
Kenneth Dixon, Javarius Allen. There's so many people there. They're like, yeah, this is the guy. I'm like, no, the Baltimore running backs don't do it. Dobbins, if Lamar goes down, Ingram is gone. Dobbins is a top 5 running back.
Harbaugh loves to run the ball. I mean, I think he knows. Listen, number one, he knows that he needs 2 running backs that can play at a high level. And I think 3 things. Number 2, this is the transition out of Ingram into the future.
Right.
Number 3, they need to protect Lamar. He ran the ball too much last year. They don't want to run him that much. So I think this is them trying to give them. But look at what he does. I mean, Ingram can catch the ball surprisingly out of the backfield, but Dobbins, that's not his strength. But I think Dobbins is the future pounded in that team. He's the future power guy on that team, and that's what they want to get the lead. They want to slow it. Which is ironic because their problem was that last year they couldn't play from behind against Tennessee. So I think they need some more electricity, which Dobbins is not. He's a power running back, but it's a different story for a different day.
All right, Tom. Man, we covered a lot. Top 10 fantasy rookies. That's it, man. There you have it. We went into some depth here. Again, there's other guys, like I said at the beginning of the show, that could emerge. Benjamin could take Drake's job. AJ Dillon.
Anthony McFarland if James Conner gets hurt.
Man, yeah. Zach Moss there with Buffalo. I mean,
Keyshawn Vaughn, he might get some big games in Tampa.
Vaughn, correct. Tampa. I almost forgot about him.
I mean, you got guys that we don't care about as much now, like Joshua Kelly. Like Eckler's not going to be the total number. I mean, he's the number one, but he's not an every down back as far as move the change. But then there's going to be other things. If you're up, there's going to be goal line running backs, guys who steal touchdowns. You got, there's guys like Zach Moss can easily be that type of guy if he proves. I like Zach Moss. I mean, I think they got 2 good running backs over there. But you know what? Buffalo drafts talent. They've done one of the best jobs of building a team out of anybody I've ever seen within the last 3 years, and they have very good coaching, very good executives. So they just want good players. AJ Dillon. I mean, I think I would compare him more to the guy that you mentioned, even DeAndre Swift. Not the same style running back, but a guy that's going to have somebody there. But I think he's going to end up better there and be a pounded running back. You got to remember, Matt LaFleur was the OC in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. Matt LaFleur is trying to bring in his running back. He loved Henry. He brought in Dillon, who's a similar running style. He's not as good as Henry. Henry's a lot faster and a lot better. but he drafted Jordan Love to be his quarterback as well of the future. So, I mean, but A.J. Dillon, he ran a 4.53. That's not slow. But I think
dynasty. He thinks dynasty, fantasy dynasty.
But Matt LaFleur wants his team and his people in there, So I think he's trying to give his future team.
Yeah.
Future players.
And these are fantasy dynasty rankings as well. I call them rookie rankings.
Yeah.
Dynasty, consider getting these guys. There's a lot of insight we just gave you guys here. If you are in your fantasy football dynasty leagues for 2020, this is going to help you significantly as well with these rookie wide receivers and running backs. Tom, as per usual, man, thanks, guys. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday. We're going to bring Tom in to give you guys all this extra realistic insight with coaching, offensive schemes, coordinators, defenses, offenses, corners. It's going to be really insightful getting that inside info from a reality point of view. And then I give the fantasy spin on Wednesdays. So make sure you guys subscribe, leave a thumbs up, leave a questions below, and we will get to them. Tom, man, thanks for coming on, man.
You're welcome.
I'm excited. Guys, subscribe. There's a ton of content coming this year, and get the 16-round draft solution. And man, oh man, I love Jonathan Taylor more after this call. I'm telling you. We'll talk soon, guys.